Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Dementia Chats. My name is Lori La Bey, and I am the founder of Alzheimer Speaks and the daughter of a mother who lived with dementia for 30 years. Dementia Chats gives us a moment to be able to hear the voices of our true experts, those living with the disease. So today we're going to talk about stress and how it affects those with dementia, everybody a little bit different. So we're going to talk about everything from the holidays to the pandemic to changes in technology to just everyday life stress points. And then we are also going to wrap up with letting them identify people and organizations that they would like to thank that brings a calmness and support to dementia itself and those living and dealing with it. So before we get started with our conversation, we're going to go around and everyone's going to introduce themselves, give a little background as to their dementia and what they're up to. So Paul Ann, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and going first.
Sure. My name is Paul Ann Gordon, and I was diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2012. And I am on the advisory board and the board of directors for DAA, and I'm also active with Dementia Mentors.
Wonderful. Thank you. And True?
My full legal name is Truthful Loving Kindness, and I am active with Dementia Mentors, blogging, etc. Oh, and I have my current diagnosis is mild cognitive impairment with vascular and Lewy body symptoms.
Great, thank you. And Michael?
My name's Mike Wallenbogen. I'm an international dementia connector and advocate who's living with dementia. I most recently updated to definitely FTD category now, and it'll probably change again when the science gets better. And I'm involved in many organizations.
Wonderful, thank you. And Karen, how about you?
Hi, I'm Karen Creekmore. I was diagnosed in 2014, initially with Alzheimer's. It's changed a couple of times, and so I just make it real simple and say I'm living with dementia symptoms. Also, a member of Dementia Mentors, DAA and DAI. Really glad to be here. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. And Craig?
Hi, my name is Craig Hankey. I was diagnosed in 2013 with Lewy body dementia. Have a lot of the symptoms, but 2 weeks ago my doctor changed it to mild cognitive impairment. I'm not in agreement with that, but he changed it. He says, oh, Lewy body's not out of the question, but we're not right now. It's just MCI. I'm very active in Dementia Mentors and just starting to get active in DAA.
Wonderful, thank you. Sounds like there's a lot of shaking up with diagnoses going on again. Let's see, Lori, you want to go next?
Everybody, I'm Lori Scherer, and I was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's and FTD. I'm very active with Dementia Action Alliance. I'm on the board of directors and advisory board, also with Dementia Mentors and a number of other things. And it's just great to be here and share this time with everybody.
Thank you. And Anne, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Anne. I live in Maine and with a husband and a dog. And I see a lot of people here that I've really enjoyed. And you know, for me, having people and just for fun, laugh, cry if we need to. But this is so fabulous, because imagine going through dementia all by yourself. And this is, you know, I leave happy. So I'm so glad for this.
Great, thank you. And Michael, how about you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Belville. I was diagnosed in 2013. Like everybody else, you never get the right diagnosis, but it's changed only once, and it's now Lewy body dementia with Parkinsonism. Been blessed to be engaged with a lot of amazing people, different dementia organizations. currently on the advisory board for Dementia Action Alliance and connected with DAI and just a lot of great people. So thank you for doing what you do, Lori.
Wonderful. Well, we are thrilled that you could join us today. And if you don't mind, Mike, I'd like to have you kind of kick us off with some of the stressors that you're feeling between the holidays, the pandemic, life in general, technology. You pick, what are your triggers for stress, and how does it affect you?
I think it's a great topic. One thing that I realized last week, because I'm typically home by myself all day. I do live with my wife of going on 40 years and our 23-year-old son, but obviously they both are still working full-time jobs. And especially my wife, who works in administration and a couple of different adult day programs for developmental disabilities. With everything going on with COVID, the stress that it's putting on her is just been insurmountable. It's just been crazy. And it didn't even occur to me until one day last week, she was coming home and she's very tired, exhausted, short, snappy, all these different things. And I didn't realize how I was feeding off her, even subconsciously, and how it was affecting me, even to the point where it was, exacerbating some of my symptoms. So it's a hard line to walk, because she's having such a difficult time. I feel like I'm not doing my part by being there for her, to try to help her get through these tough times and try to defend myself in a way. When I say defend, but I mean protect myself, I should say, from letting it affect me in a negative way with my symptoms. So it all comes down to being able to just talk it out and try to get through it. But like I said, for me, it was kind of a aha moment that, I've had along this journey, that not even realizing how outside influences can affect us in a not good way.
Mike, I think that that's a really, really valid point. And it's one thing that I think we actually need to teach our kids when they're little, because it's not just with dementia that we can mirror back others' patterns of behavior and energy. We've all been at a meeting or maybe in our own house and everything is fine. And then somebody walks in the door and it's like, whoa, it's just like someone just froze the room with tension and nobody really knows why, other than this person just entered. And I think it's something we all have to be a little bit more aware of, because I think, especially as a care partner, it's really easy for us to think we're hiding it, just because we might put a smile on our face or something, but it's the tone of voice, it's our body movement and our body language, it's our eyes. I know for myself, when I'm really stressed, when I was caring for my folks, my eyes, and I didn't realize this until clients told me later, after things had settled down with my folks, they're like, oh my gosh, you have the most beautiful eyes. But what happened to me when I was caring was my eyes got really dark. They were just really heavy, and I lost my glint in my eyes. And so there's really subtle changes, I think, that take place. And many times I think people just assume somebody with dementia won't pick that up. But what I've heard from so many of you is that you rely on those nonverbals even more in terms of communication. Would you say that that's an accurate statement, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think you nailed it. And you know, because it works both ways. I mean, Cheryl can always tell what kind of day I'm going to have or what kind of mood in just by looking at me. And I haven't even said anything, and she'll say something, and I go, "How the heck did you?" I mean, you know, I always throw it back to women's intuition, and you know, I've learned not to mess with that. You know, I go with it. But I think you described it perfectly. Yes.
True, go ahead.
For me, it seems like my care partner, my spouse, is super worried that he will get COVID and not be able to care for me. So everything is much, much more stressful. And he says, but I didn't say, I'm not mad at you. And I didn't say anything bad. No, I couldn't even hear what you said because all I heard was your tone of voice. All I know is that something is terribly, terribly wrong. I can't understand a word you're saying. I know that it's bad.
And I think another good point, I think that's perfect, true, is because there's so many times where if Cheryl and I have a, let's just say what I call a challenging conversation, it could be an hour later, it could be a day later. I might still be upset, or it's affected my mood. I don't know why. I don't remember what the conversation was, but I remember the feeling. And somebody else had said that recently, and it was like, wow, that's exactly what it is. I remember the feeling of being upset. So it feels like I'm supposed to be upset with you. I just don't remember why. And it's tough, you know, it's hard to get over that feeling part of it.
Sure. Lori, you were shaking your head. Did you want to add anything in?
I agree with Mike, because I will remember a feeling sad, feeling angry, but not remember why I feel that way. And that it's difficult sometimes because it's 2 days later and you're thinking, okay, what did he do? Or, you know, what did she do? Why am I feeling this way towards this person? And I don't know why. So am I supposed to still be upset, or it could be very happy also? Why am I so excited for this person? I don't know why, but that's kind of challenging at times. So when Mike, you right on, and I think I had written a blog about that one time too, because the feelings stay. Even when you try to get rid of them, you try to change it and say, no, stop it. You don't even know why you're upset. Change it. You just have that residual leftover feeling that you can't get rid of.
Lori, do you want to go next, since you had the mic, and tell us about stressors that you feel and how it impacts you?
Well, right now, we are moving from Pennsylvania to Alabama. We're living in a motorhome, which is packed full of our stuff. We can't celebrate Christmas with anybody because we don't want to be around them because of COVID. And it's just, you know, it's a wonderful life. I can't find anything because we've got the motorhome so packed with stuff. And it's hard. It is stressful. My sister is extremely upset at me for moving from Pennsylvania to Alabama, and just is very angry. And that's really impacting me a lot because she and I are very close, and she's ripping apart that closeness. That's a few stress angles. How to relieve the stress, you know, I'm very thankful for the things I have in my life. This little one, she helps me a lot. She just helps me to cope. I'm thankful for so many people and organizations that are out there to help us. Dementia Action Alliance, Dementia Alliance International, Dementia Mentors, Lori La Bey,
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll continue to go around here. So Anne, how about you? What stresses you?
Well, I've been living with this for about 5 years. I have not told anyone but my family that I have Alzheimer's. And, but I have to say that being with you guys is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I can't even imagine someone going through something like this all by yourself. And what I think is really cool about some of the folks here that I know, we have so much fun, and we don't grouse about what we're stuck with. And that is what really keeps me up. I mean, not up in bed, but I mean, up during the day. And that for me, that's what's working for me.
So you feel pretty safe in these virtual communities to be able to say what's going on and get support. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Craig, how about you? What causes you stress?
Well, what was causing immense stress was not sleeping. And when I was sleeping, I was having night terrors that were just literally scare the hell out of you. I found out on my own. I asked my doctors over a year ago to check on my medications to see if any of those could be causing night terrors by themselves or mixed together. They never came up with anything, and I found out on my own that the 3 of the medications I take cause night terrors. But with I stopped taking gabapentin. I had ankle pain, so I stopped taking gabapentin about 2 weeks ago now, and I haven't had a night terror in 12 days. And I found all this out on my own. With the diagnosis change came more medication changes, and that's a stressor because from what I've been told, if you get off these medications and you need to be put back on them, you'll never achieve the dosage level that you were at before you quit the medications. So I'm having stress about that. But just having dementia alone is a stressor. The virus is just multiplying that tenfold. But one of my biggest stresses is my mom's in an assisted living facility, and she's been on lockdown since March 13th. So she hasn't seen her birthday. She hasn't been able to go for her birthday, Easter, and now Christmas. So it's just knowing that she's locked up and going through pretty much like a prison is very, very stressing.
Are you able to communicate with your mom at all through like Zoom or FaceTime, Craig?
Well, luckily, we both have Portal. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a Facebook machine. It's like a computer monitor, but all it's used for is talking back and forth. So we're able to communicate through that, and she's very, very thankful for that. So, but it's not the same of going up and seeing her. For a little while, we could have window visits outside her window, but they stopped that too. So
Yeah, it's hard when you can't hug and talk directly and, see what kind of read their face in person in what's going on. Yeah. You had mentioned, your medication changes and your diagnosis change. That always throws everybody, I think, for a loop. When you think you're on this path and you're dealing with that, and then they're like, oh no, come on over here. Let's go down this, and you got to start from scratch again. Is that throwing your wife and your family members for a loop too? Or do you think that that's not stressing them?
Well, with the COVID, my wife's the only one that really sees me, so it's upsetting her because she's convinced that I still have Lewy body dementia because I have many of the symptoms. And the doctor, he's newer to me, I've only seen him a year now, he made a statement after my office appointment that the MRI that I had never showed any signs of Lewy body dementia. And I questioned him at the time because I said, Lewy body dementia doesn't show up on any kind of scan unless you die and have a biopsy. Well, he was in disagreement with me. He says you can see certain shrinkages here and there, especially in the back of the brain where Lewy bodies exist. And I was like, Lewy bodies don't, they go throughout the whole brain. So between him and this other doctor, I'm thinking about getting whole new doctors because I really don't think they know what you're talking about.
And that's spooky in and of itself, you know, because you want to be able to trust your doctor and have faith in that. So many times, I mean, I've heard from all of you at one point or another that you feel like you really are the educators for the doctors on a lot of levels in terms of what the disease is really like. And, you know, book smarts is great, but there's got to be some reality based of everyday symptoms and how you're dealing with and adapting to that. So thank you. Karen, do you want to go next on stressors for you?
Oh, I'm completely stress-free. Ha. I'm having a difficult time, and I appreciate what everyone has said. We talked before about my hands out, too many feelers out, too many things going on, too many meetings, cafes, family, friends, to the point where my brain is more confused and unable to process order, and affects me a big deal. I just had I think Mike was talking about his wife with the little conflict thing, and I got to see my mom. My mom's 80, my mom's 90, 45 minutes away. She had a doctor's appointment, and my sister and niece came over yesterday, and I met them at the park. Long story short, my mom was perfect. I unfortunately mentioned something about the gallery going to be, deleted, and I need to figure out how to on my cell phone, which I'm not good at. So then, just 90 miles an hour, and me being a teacher, and I can slow things down. It didn't work. And instead of me letting that go, instead of me saying, how important is this? I didn't need all that information. I kept on. And so it turned into not a knockdown, drag out, but unpleasant. I withdrew a lot and missed out a lot on being with my mom. Those kind of things. Again, with this overwhelmness, I am forgetting meds. I'm just confused. And I think when I'm in a Dementia Mentors meeting or DAA or DAI, anybody that knows about dementia, I can stop. I can let, how important is it that I don't understand every word that you're saying and that I need to reply to everything? How important is it if I have Alzheimer's or Lewy body or for myself? I just know that I'm overwhelmed. I've said something. I'm an all or nothing person, and I'm taking steps. So it's just taken a while, but that's what's affecting me right now. And the biggest part is me losing my relationships, my individual relationships. Somebody will text me or whatever, and I will not have a clue if I've responded. Where did they text me? So those are difficult things for me.
Okay, great. Thank you. True, do you want to go next? And what are some stress triggers for you?
To jump on what Creaky was saying, one of the things about technology that really stresses me is we've got Facebook messages, which is what I use most. We've got email messages. We've got text messages to our telephone number. We've got voice messages. We've got this and we've got that. And okay, I know that this person contacted me. Where do I find the information so that I can know what I'm supposed to reply to? It's very, very frustrating. I mean, I'm very glad that we've got the variety because, like I say, a lot of us are really very much Facebook message. Say, Lori, Lori Scherer is not Facebook message, she's email message. So then I have to look at my Excel spreadsheet and see, oh, yes, for Lori, it's email. For Creaky, it's Facebook message. And more technology and more potential for problems.
Yeah, I get that. I have issues with that too. And then it changes for people too. Sometimes they switch what their little favorite mode is. And then it's like, well, I've been sending, oh, I haven't gotten it. And it's like, and then I'll look and I'm going, well, it's there, but and now I have to switch. But it's hard to sort out. And it's hard enough to grab that, okay, somebody contacted me and I have to follow up. But then that whole second piece of how, in which way are they going to get the message?
Yet not only that, but then Facebook changes format and you can't find anything or do anything. Then my blog changes format and I can't write. And then this changes format and that changes format and I'm lost.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Thanks for sharing that. Pauline, I'm going to have you go next. What are some stress triggers for you?
Well, right now, I haven't talked about it a lot, but we're thinking about moving back to Ohio. So that's a big stress factor right now because we're looking at houses, we've gotten our loan approved and all this stuff, but I'm watching Lori go through what she's gone through and I'm thinking, oh, no, I don't want to do all that. But at least we don't have a house to sell. So we have that out of the picture.
Well, why don't we go ahead and flip over to Michael then, if you want to go ahead and talk about what stresses you out, and we can pull Pauline in afterwards if she's able to get back on.
You probably need about a week for me. I got to tell you, with building this house and all this advocacy I was doing, it just became to the point that it was just too much for me. As you know, about 8 months ago, I started dropping most of the things that I was doing from an advocacy standpoint. I really was going to give this all up. I didn't plan to continue advocating anymore. I figured it was time for others to step up to the plate. But on the other side of that, when I had nothing left to do, that actually became stressful. And it's like, I was either stressed having a lot of things or not having anything to do, and that became stressful. So it's like, this just doesn't make any sense here. So luckily, it didn't take long for people to come back knocking at my door to get on new things. But I understand where people are talking about technology because that became a pain in the you-know-what. Facebook was changing how they wanted to do things. And I said, I'm done with this. I don't want to have to learn new ways. So I dropped my Facebook. I dropped my Twitter. I dropped my own website. It's like, I need to simplify life. And I got rid of a lot of those stressors. I wish I could say I could do the same for my house. But thank God that's going to be over in another 3 months. So somehow I got to work out how I'm going to live through that. My poor wife is taking the beating on all that because every time there's an issue, I get frustrated on her about it because she's the one I got to rely on, unfortunately, and she's the one who's keeping everything straight. And then on top of it, as some of you may know, I was recently in another medical trial, and it's been confirmed now 100% that I am definitely not Alzheimer's in any way whatsoever. And it's definitely FTD, which, for the longest time, it was either FTD or Alzheimer's because I had some doctors saying one and other doctors saying another. So it's like, that's another stress factor. But like I said, it's probably going to change again a couple more times as I get into more and more clinical trials. But you just got to be able to put all the stuff behind you and just focus on what's present. And what can you do? You just with all these things that I'm now involved with. I'm involved in so many organizations and so many committees I'm on now recently, and I'm not the person I used to be where I could keep it all straight in my head. So I've had to come to terms with that also, that I can only do the best that I can, and hopefully that'll be good enough for them.
Great. Yeah, because you've had a lot of changes in diagnosis. Can you, because you started having symptoms, what was it, at 39, and they didn't really diagnose you till like 49, and so this has been a really long ongoing process for you. And I know a lot of people were deemed to have Alzheimer's, and then they switched and said mild cognitive impairment, and everyone was screaming, there's nothing mild about this. Symptoms hadn't changed, but titles had. And again, you kind of got to go with the flow. But like in Craig's instance, I mean, he really feels like he's got a lot of those symptoms, and it sounds like the doctors may not be as educated as what you need them to be. So getting a second opinion is probably really, really wise. But nobody likes to go get a second or a third opinion. I mean, that's stress in and of itself too. So, and then making a major move, like you and Lori both are doing, that is, I mean, everything you own is in a different spot. And that makes it really, really difficult as well. I'm going to go down to Lori because I know you were having some internet issues, but let's flip over to kind of our gratitude piece and what people in organizations do you feel have supported you and others through this journey?
First, let me add, one of my stress factors today is the internet, because as a couple of us have frozen today and trying to get this recording done, I would have to say the internet today is one of our stress factors. But I am so thankful that I have found groups and individuals who have been really supportive since I was diagnosed. Dementia Action Alliance, DAA, boy, they keep me going because they give me a purpose in my life. Or they don't give it to me. They help me to find purpose. Rather than sitting at home and going, okay, woe is me. I have so much to do. Like Christi said, sometimes it's like, oh my golly, how am I going to fit it all in? And Dementia Mentors, what a fantastic group where they actually pair you up one-on-one with someone to help you out. It's a great program. The AFTD, when you have FTD, the best place to go is to somebody that specializes in FTD, and that's the AFTD. And they've helped me to learn so much about FTD. In particular, I really would have to say thank you to Karen Love, Jackie Pinkwitz, Lori La Bey, Kate Swaffer, Gary LeBlanc, and just so many. Susan Weary, who is a doctor of geriatrics, she volunteers her time. Every week she volunteers an hour just to talk to people living with dementia. She's been doing that since March, every week. I mean, she's a doctor and a professor. Like, really? She squeezes in her time every week. I see so many people out there that just are willing to give up their time and help as much as possible to support people living with dementia. And you know what? I really want to say thank you to the many groups and the many people that have been a support to so many of us.
Thank you, Lori. Mike, do you want to go next?
I mean, yeah, just what everybody's been saying. I mean, it's just been the support that we have because of people like you, Lori, that do what you do, and DAA and DAI and Dementia Mentors. I'm with Ann. I can't imagine going through this alone or not having that support. You know, like Lori said, it's given me purpose. It's given me, at least feel like I'm at least contributing in some way. But without it, it would just be, I just know I would not be where I am right now as far as the progression of the disease. I really believe it would have progressed faster along. But I mean, I really would hope or want people to stop and think about how much stress does and can play a factor. I mean, I'm very blessed and lucky. One of the first doctors I saw at Mass General in Boston who confirmed the diagnosis. One of the first things he told me was reduce as much stress in your life as possible. And, you know, at the time I was still working, and the day I went into his office to tell him that I left work, he got off his chair and gave me a hug. And, you know, because the amount of stress that was causing. So it's just that I don't want people to take it for granted that if they're having a bad day or having a bad few days, you know, to really stop and look and think of what the cause may be. You know, we all want to easily just blame it on the disease, but there may be an underlying cause as to why it's worse for those few days. And I think I've seen every Hallmark movie 5 times in the last couple of months. So, I mean, you have to try to do, you know, what you have to do to try to push some of that stuff aside. But the biggest thing is for people to know who may be watching this is that they're not alone, that there's a lot of resources. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call or plug into somebody. You've got people that have been doing this for a very long time. I mean, the first person I reached out to after I got out of my hole after 5 or 6 months of self-pity was Mike Ellenbogen. And because I saw a news article online, and a lot of the symptoms and things that he was going through were very familiar. And so because of Mike got me plugged into different places and different things to do. So I know all of us here want to be able to do that for other people as well, especially during this time of year.
Yep. Agree. Craig, I know you need to jump off a little early, so let's have you go next and what you're thankful for.
I have so much to be thankful for. The first one being like a loving and understanding family, because when I was first diagnosed, there were many, many questions, and I didn't have the answers. Dementia Mentors is huge. Some people in Dementia Mentors, like Lori, Mike Belleville, and Gary, who started it all. My mentor, who some of you know, is Robert Bowles. He called me on Saturday. We had a good conversation. But just to people that are in Dementia Mentors now, they know what you're talking about. They talk the talk, they walk the walk. So when you're in Dementia Mentors meetings, or even Dementia Action Alliance, which I'm getting into now, it's so, that's what I'm looking for. It's just, it's such a good feeling to know that when you say something, you're not going to get ridiculed for it or made fun of because of these things that are going on. These people are here, they understand you, and they know where you're coming from. So I've had 2 mentees in Dementia Mentors, unfortunately, well, 3 now. Unfortunately, 2 of my mentees died of the disease. It was very hard to take because you become such a bonded friendship that you rely on each other for. And like anything else I get involved with like that, I got more out of mentoring than I did mentoring people. One thing going back to technology, let's take a step back again, is that smart TVs to me and smartphones and smartwatches are all smarter than I am. And if I have a problem, I usually call Mike Belleville once in a while. He's a great help. But my 7-year-old granddaughter and my 10-year-old grandson come over and they, well, just do this, Grandpa, blah, 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 and they hand me back the remote. And it's like, what did you just do? And write it down because I don't remember any of it. But it's amazing how smart these kids are with technology and what they can all do with it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anne, how about you? What are you grateful for?
I had pretty good parents and siblings that we still connect with and have a good time. And I've got two great daughters and two grandsons. And so just to be surround, we're scattered. None of us can just walk over and get a coffee. But I feel really, really glad to have that, the friends, and that really help, keeps me going.
Karen, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Way too many things to even list being grateful for. I think the biggest one, like everyone is saying, is having that support, and I started out in Dementia Mentors in 2014 and then disappeared for 5 years. Way to go, Karen. And found my way back. And not only does that give me the social aspect, but also with DAA, with the teaching, and I'm also in a living alone group with DAI. I feel most comfortable around people with dementia. I mean, I have phone numbers, I have address lists. I can contact anybody 24/7 if I so choose. And I think just having that, not being alone, keeps me upright. And grateful for a roof over my head, two lovely little dogs that like to bark a lot, and a vehicle. And I happened to attend a Native American ceremony, a solstice ceremony last night at a friend's house. And there's only 6 of us, social distance in the backyard. And we did a lot of praying and singing. And it was just, that brought me back. Not only do I have Zoom, but that brought me back into stuff that I used to do that was really cool and safe. Tons of stuff to be grateful for. And I appreciate y'all. Thanks.
Great, thank you. True, how about you? Oh, go ahead. Let's go with Craig quick, because he, I know, has to jump off.
I forgot to mention truthful. When I first got into Dementia Mentors, she made me feel so welcomed. She's just a great person all around. Her husband, Guy, is fantastic too. And Truthful's administrative duties are, I don't know how she did it. It's crazy the amount of work she had to do, but very thankful for her too.
Great, thank you. True, you want to go?
Well, I made a list. I had plenty of time because other people were talking. I think, of course, caregiver, care partner, my husband, and Zoom. The things that Zoom has done for us, the allowances that they've made for first Dementia Mentors, and then like the, what was it, 2017 conference for DAA, they were tremendously giving in their support for that conference. I think that was fantastic. Of course, Dementia Mentors itself, because that's where I'm normal. You, Teepa, but especially today, I'm thinking about individual people with dementia who have been willing to say, hey, I can do that, and take on responsibilities, because after 6 years of whatever my role was with Dementia Mentors, I was really wore out, very much overstretched and needing whatever the words are, at any rate. But I needed people who could step in and do the different tasks, had the time, the skills, and now they are there and I'm able to back up and say, okay, now I've got some time for other things. And I think that is super, super special. Plus the people that are friends with us on Facebook and actually reply. They put a comment instead of just click the like button. You know, everybody clicks the like button, especially if there's a picture in the thing. But the ones that comment and actually stay, it feels like they are more in contact with us. And that is, I've noticed, not just with me, it is super important for my friends. They feel without those comments, actual comments, they feel left off. I forget the word again. I'm not doing good with words today. But when you comment, then they've got a connection. They've got a connection, a point to say, oh, yes, hello. It is a good day, isn't it? And I really appreciate the people who take the time to do that. And I don't know about everybody else, but I've got, you know, several very, very busy professionals who are taking the time to comment specifically for people on things that people with dementia post. And I very, very much appreciate that.
Well, and I think what you have to keep in mind too is all of those people are really learning something very profound from each and every one of you too. You know, so it's it definitely is a gratitude thing, I think, on others' parts as well, that you're doing the work that you're doing, because it's so important. I can't believe how much you all have changed the face of dementia and letting people know what services, products, and tools that you need, what's working, what's not working, all those alternatives. So that's really big. Michael, how about you? Anybody want to point out individually or organizationally?
I got to tell you, Lori, I am grateful for so many things that it would take me a long time to go through with them, but I'm most grateful that I got to meet you over 10 years ago when I kind of got started with all this. There weren't many people even doing this. And I'm so grateful that so many people have now stepped up to the plate to try to fill our shoes. And it's continuing to expand, which is wonderful to see, because there weren't people out there when I got started being advocates, and there's just so many of them out there, and I'm so grateful to see them here today. And it's so great to see that we're finally getting the funding, as I shared with you earlier. You know, we're now at $3.1 billion. I mean, who would have imagined that? It's just so great to see that so much is happening at NIH, that they are doing so many things, and so many people and players out there are trying to step up to the plate to do so much for dementia that it was unheard of a couple of years ago. And I feel within the next 5 years, I really think we will have a cure. Maybe not a cure, but at least a way to slow it down. There's so much progress that has been made just in the last 2 months. It's just amazing what's starting to happen. And I never thought that I would be so lucky to see this in my time. Again, I didn't know how long I would have lived 10 years ago. I mean, hey, I'm proving them all wrong. And I think I'm going to be around for another 15 years, to be honest with you. But it's, to me, I've had the opportunity to meet some of the greatest minds and people in this world, as you know, and probably the most person that I have the highest respect for is George Vredenberg. And if it wasn't for my dementia, I would not have had this luck to meet all these great people. So as bad as it may be, it's also been a blessing.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, George is with Us Against Alzheimer's, which is a fantastic organization that has really mobilized on a lot of different levels as well. And Mike, I know that you, Belleville, you wanted to make another comment as well.
Yeah, just to reiterate again, I mean, I think of people that have laid the groundwork for a lot of us, and you know, the names that come to mind are people like Richard Taylor, Harry Urban, Sandy Halpern, people like that who were speaking out when it wasn't popular, so to speak, especially when a lot of professionals or professions, including the government, state government or federal, we're looking upon people with dementia as a lesser person. And sadly, that's still happening, but I don't think to the extent it was before some of those folks spoke out for us and did what they did for us. And it's truly led to, you know, some pretty incredible organizations, you know, DAI, DAA, and what DAA does. And again, Lori, what you do and what Dementia Mentors does. And you're starting to see for a while now how that is thought process is changing, and we're being looked upon as people who they should be including in the conversation, and that our voice does belong there. And, you know, because we have a lot to say, you know, as I like to say, you know, this isn't your grandfather's dementia, you know, and no disrespect to our previous generations, but it's, you know, we're not going to go quietly in the night and, you know, in a good way, and, you know, in a positive way. So, you know, again, just thank you to all those people and organizations that are doing what they do for all of us every single day. And of course, you know, my beautiful wife and family and everyone else. So thank you. And Robert Bowles, my buddy.
Wonderful. I'm going to give a shout out to a few people too. You know, when I stepped into this space, there wasn't a heck of a lot going on at all. And I want to mention Norms McNamara and Jane Moore for sharing what was going on in other countries, because in the US, we weren't doing, excuse my language, but we weren't doing a hell of a lot over here, and we needed a lot of change. So sharing the memory cafe, sharing the dementia-friendly communities, creating the Purple Angel, which is a global symbol for all dementias, and trying to pull that together and really being a voice for people with dementia. Harry Urban was mentioned. He has a group called Forget Me Not, several groups on Facebook, but also Rick Phelps, who really was one of the first people with dementia who started a group online, who has memory people. There are so many groups, we can't even name them anymore. So if you put in a type of dementia, if you put in caregivers, if you put in people living with dementia, you're gonna pull up a lot of groups that will support you and welcome you in. I want to thank the Lutheran Home Association. Oh, I'm going to get emotional. Surprise, surprise with me getting emotional. But they were the ones that I partnered with to do the first dementia-friendly community in the US. And without them, I really don't know if we would have dementia-friendly communities yet in the US, because that was really a huge battle. And they took a big risk in terms of starting that. And it wasn't picture perfect, and it wasn't all criteria oriented. It was just a bunch of people saying we can do better. And to me, that's what it takes with all movements, is just people believing we can do better. No matter what that looks like, no matter how many mistakes we make along the way, we learn from it, we change, we adjust, and we share the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we learn. And that is how we make true progress, I believe, in all of this. I also want to thank Naomi Feil, she was one of the first educators, and she had to fight tooth and nail, and she had to go out of the US to actually get recognized for her work. That's how behind the 8 ball we are. And I'm not trying to slap us up, but in some ways just wake us up to, we aren't perfect, and we haven't been, and we probably never will be, but we have to really look at alternative ways of doing things. I want to thank Alive Inside for making that beautiful, beautiful movie and the YouTube moments of connecting people with music and showing people the power of that. I want to thank all of the people living with dementia. Your voices are incredible. And like I said earlier, you have truly, truly changed the face and the belief and the stereotypes, even though we got a long ways to go with it, in the stigmas. You guys are making a huge, huge effect. The families that have stepped up to share their stories with me on Alzheimer's Speaks, if it's through the blog and writing a poem, if it is being on the radio show, everybody from all over the world, all ages, all stages of life, all industries, are sharing their stories. And I think, again, that's the way we make sustainable change, is by being inclusive for everyone. The authors, the musicians, the movie directors, the researchers. I want to thank Dave Wiedrich, who developed the Memory Cafe directories. I think those have made it much easier for people to find where memory cafes are. There's over 100 of them virtually now. And he and I have teamed up to create Dementia Map, which is a resource directory, which has been a vision of mine for 36 years. And so that is really fun to be able to see that come to life and people participate and connect on that. And then last, I just want to reiterate some of the organizations that people may not be aware of that have been previously mentioned. Dementia Action Alliance, known as DAA, the Dementia Alliance International, which is also part of the Alzheimer's Disease International Group, the Association for Frontal Temporal Lobe, AFTD, Dementia Mentors. Again, this is a fantastic organization that connects people with dementia to people living with dementia, who knows what it's like to get that diagnosis, to know what it's like to feel and feels like to have that diagnosis, how you feel lost, how you feel depressed, how people look and treat you differently, and how they empower people to connect. And it's been fun to watch many of you get mentored and then become mentors yourself in that process. They've got great videos on there by people with dementia with wonderful tips. The Alzheimer's Association, the Lewy Body Association, Us Against Alzheimer's. The list is longer than you would think. And there are so many people doing so many cool things at all different levels. And you yourself are probably one of those people making a difference. So share your story and say thanks to those who have supported you. And let's give one just big round of applause to all of the care partners and the families and friends that support everybody. So have a wonderful new year, everybody, and happy holiday season. And thank you so much for being with us.
And Lori, just real quickly, I wanted to tell you, thank you. Corpus Christi has officially become Dementia Friendly City. And I remember sending my peeps, area agency on aging. Look, you got to see Lori La Bey, and look, she started the first one. And we are, myself and another person with dementia, are completely embraced with the groundbreaking stuff, and they have just flooded us with support. And thank you for the care partners. My dad had Alzheimer's, and I got initially into care partners, all those support groups, which were vital to help me understand my dad. So thank you, Lori.
I have to apologize, Lori La Bey, because I did not mention that, but you were the one I reached out to as well when I was living in Massachusetts, and the town I was living in wanted to become dementia friendly, and you connected me with a group. And literally a month before I moved out of that town, they became a dementia friendly community. So you were a huge part of that.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. It's I mean, it's just if we talk about it, you know, it'll click, and you don't know when things are going to kick in, but you know, it's just a matter of having those conversations, and that's a simple, not costly thing to do that we can all do. So
And Lori has volunteered to host for an hour on Christmas Day on DAA.
good. Well, you guys have a wonderful holiday. Again, I'm so privileged to know all of you and be able to work with you, and I adore each of you. So I will let you know as soon as this recording is out, and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, have a wonderful holiday and a great new year. Okay?
Merry
Thanks,
Christmas.
everybody.
Happy
Holiday.
Hanukkah.
Holidays.